Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us here on this, what is now a snowy Friday. I'm Meteorologist Chris Bianchi here on 9 News Watch. So we're starting to see that snow starting to develop from north to south here across the Denver metro area, and that overall trend is going to continue as we head over the next couple of hours. Now, we're expecting a good 3, 4, maybe even 5 inches of snow here in Denver. Higher amounts just to the west of town. But the big thing I want you to take away from everything we're going to be seeing over the next few hours is that the impacts to the evening commute will be higher west of Denver and also as you get later in the commute. So let me explain a little bit on this before we show you some of those fancy maps. We'll be looking at, again, higher amounts just to the west of Denver. It's also going to be a little bit colder, 6,000 feet or above. Of course, as you go up in elevation, it tends to get a little bit colder. So, again, we will be looking at a bit more in the way of snow sticking onto the roadways just to the west and south of Denver. And then also, of course, as you get just after dark here in Denver, I do think we'll get those temperatures cold enough that a lot of that snow will start to stick. So with that in mind, let's show you what we can expect. That snow already underway for a good chunk of the kind of north by 70 part of the Denver metro area. Those impacts, again, to the PM commute, it's a little tricky, and sorry if that explanation wasn't 100% clear, but again, want to re-emphasize that's the west side of the metro area that will have the highest impacts, and the later you go in the commute, the higher the impacts. So you've got my permission here, folks. Get out of work a little bit early. The weatherman said so. So get out around 3, 4 o'clock. Yes, it'll be snowing in Denver, but most of that snow should be mainly sticking to grassy surfaces, colder surfaces, car tops, grass, roofs, things of that sort, not on roads. Now, totals 2 to 4 inches in Denver. May have to bump that up a little bit, honestly. I wouldn't be stunned if we end up with 3 to 5 here in the Denver area and a bit more to the west. Starting to see some of those bands develop from north to south. Those will slide south along I-25. As they do so, again, they're starting to move their way closer and closer to the Denver area. Just looked outside and saw a few flakes flying outside of our studios here at Spear in Logan in downtown Denver. So again, first flakes probably already flying from I-70 on north in particular, but most of Denver probably already starting to see those first flakes if you kind of squint at this point. But the worst of the snowfall fills on in as we head over the next few hours. It'll be a little bit blustery, by the way, for us. Highs only in the 30s here in Denver, 33 for us at DIA right now. Those temperatures will gradually fall through the afternoon, but that current temperature of 33 in Denver is going to help us, at least initially, keep that snow mainly, again, sticking to colder surfaces. I do think it's going to take a couple of hours for that snow to stick to the roads. But as we get over the next few hours, there's a look at that temperature forecast and notice, again, kind of 3, 4 o'clock, those temperatures are still right around freezing. You couple that with the sun still up, and even though it's cloudy, that sun still does have an impact on melting some of that snow and making it a bit warmer on the ground. So as a result of that, I do think that the snow is going to struggle to stick onto the roads until about 4:35, 6 o'clock is when that snow will start to stick for us in the immediate area, metro area, and then those temperatures fall through the night, and that's when I think we'll see the main portion of our accumulations here in Denver, probably around the somewhere between about 5 and 9 p.m. is when the majority of the snow is going to fall for us here into the Denver area. All right, let's show you this with a few of those forecast graphics as we get that snow sliding on in. It'll be snowing pretty heavily between about 5 and 9 o'clock in Denver, and it'll be sticking. As I mentioned, those temperatures will fall below freezing at that point. Then it clears from north to south. And by about 10, 11 o'clock, that snow is pretty much done across the Denver area, and then we'll clear on out, giving way to a sunny start to your weekend. In the meantime, here's a look at those next few hours. In fact, let's back this up a little bit for you. So the snow, again, already pretty much underway for most of the Denver area, as I was mentioning. If it hasn't started snowing yet, by 3 o'clock, it's snowing everywhere. Heaviest snow in the foothills, so that's ski traffic. I've been talking about this for the last little while. Highway 93, peak-to-peak highway, I-70 certainly, 285 certainly. It's going to be snowing pretty heavily come 2, 3, 4 o'clock there, and it will be sticking as you get on up in elevation. In Denver, as I mentioned, Snow starts to stick here probably between about 4 and 6, at least on roads. So again, the front end of that commute may be okay. The back end of it looks a bit dicier. And then by 6, 7 o'clock, that snow is starting to lighten on up, but that's when it starts to stick, I think, for the most part here in Denver. And then by about 9, 10, 11 o'clock, that snow over and done with, and we'll wake up to a few more inches worth of snowfall for us here into the Denver area. Here's a look at what we can expect. This is one computer forecast model's forecast. And by the way, the mountains do get a little bit of snow. So if you're skiing tomorrow morning, I wouldn't call it a powder day, but 2, 3, 4 inches for the I-70 mountains, maybe a bit more in, say, Eldora. Eldora would be a mountain that's going to do pretty well from this. So maybe 4, 5, 6 inches up that way. That would be maybe not, again, not a full-fledged powder day, but again, enough there to make it count in those areas. And then watch here as we get closer into the Denver area. Again, Boulder, and that's where you may end up with a bit more in the way of snowfall. But Denver itself, I-25 on east, probably about 2, 3 inches. I-25 on west, including Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, Arvada. I think that's where you're looking about 3 to 6 inches worth of snowfall. And then foothills, some spots may end up with a bit more than that once all is said and done. We're about 22 inches in terms of our season-to-date snowfall here in Denver. That puts us about 7 inches behind our average. We'll put a little dent into that total later on today and tonight. Then we've got a beautiful weekend ahead. Temperatures spike back into the 50s, near 60 degrees Sunday and Monday. That'll melt off all that snow just ahead of our next snowmaker that'll come at the middle of next week. Right now it looks like Wednesday night would be the main accumulation time frame. And it looks to be kind of a middling snowstorm, somewhere in the 3 to 6, 4 to 8 inch snow event kind of range. That'd be an early guess. Still a lot of things to be worked out with this one, but it looks a little bit too far south to give us a big snow here in Denver. But it does look like we'll get a few inches out of that system coming up on Wednesday and into your Thursday. So with that in mind, I'm going to kind of hop on in here into Facebook. I should have done this before I came on the air, but I'm going to do this right now and see if there are any comments and questions about today's snow. So again, big impacts for today would be the fact that we're going to be looking at about 2 to 4 inches worth of snowfall here in Denver, but the majority of that comes at the back end of that evening commute. I think it's going to take a little while for that snow to stick to the roads here in Denver because of those warmer temperatures. And again, we'll be keeping a close eye on that. So if you got comments, and I'm looking at them now, Becky asking about how much snow to expect in the Loveland Berthoud areas. I would say in Loveland, you're probably looking 3 inches would be a pretty good guess for you guys up there into the Loveland Berthoud area. Don't hold me exactly to that, but 2 to 4 inch range should do it for you guys. And I know it's snowing up there right now there, Becky, so hopefully it gives you a pretty good idea about what to expect from the snowstorm. Elizabeth asking about how much snow in Parker. I think for you in Parker, probably on the order of about 2 to 4 inches as well, probably on the lower end of that. I'd say 2 to 3 should do it for you in Parker. This is going to be more of a west side of the metro area is going to end up with the highest totals from this. So Iris writing in from Arvada, that's where I think you end up with about 4 to 6 inches worth of snowfall from this event. 3 to 6 inches. We'll call it 3 to 6 inches, but probably 4 or 5 will do it for you there, Iris. And then Rose asking about Littleton, and Littleton may end up with a good 4 or 5 inches from this, as you'll be kind of a bit more favored than some other areas a bit further south. Trina asking about Trinidad. I think in Trinidad you'll end up up that way, or down that way, I should say, probably closer to about 3, 4 inches from this event there in Trinidad. Your snow mainly comes tonight, and that'll help accumulate that snowfall there in Trinidad. So hello to our friends in southern Colorado. And then Bet or Betty, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, asking about Confer. Confer, as usual, will do pretty well from this snow event. You're probably 5, 6 inches up there, maybe even 7 or 8. You're going to be kind of in the bullseye there, Bet, in Conifer. So don't be surprised. You're probably in the 4 to 8 inch range up that way. So wouldn't be surprised if you do end up with that. Martha saying it's snowing in West Arvada now. As I mentioned, that snow starting from north to south, and I would say most of the Denver area. If you look outside and you just kind of squint, in fact, I'm looking at our window here. Let's see, I know this is compelling television here. As I'm trying to squint and see some flakes. I actually don't see any right now, but then again, I'm like 10 feet away from the window here, so I actually do see, yep, I see a few flakes flying here downtown Denver. I know, that was absolutely compelling, but again, most of you probably starting to see those first flakes fly. I would just kind of glance and look at one of those kind of, I don't know, something with like a dark background, a black background or something outside, see if it's snowing at this point, because it probably is already at this point. So hopefully that has answered a lot of your questions. Still got a few more to go. Las Animas, again, probably about 2-3 inches for you, Sandra, in Las Animas, and Trudy asking about Alamosa and the San Luis Valley. You're going to be a bit too far west to get a lot of snow from this. You'll probably end up with a little bit, maybe 1 to 3 inches there, Trudy and Alamosa, and the San Luis Valley. The Wet Mountains should probably end up with a bit more than that east of you, but Alamosa not so much for you. And then Julie asking about Erie and the Lafayette areas. I do think, Julie, you probably end up there with about 2 to 4 inches worth of snowfall. Probably on the lower end of that, 2 to 3 will probably be what you end up with in Erie, Lafayette, and your snow mainly over the next 6-7 hours. So hopefully that looks like, oh, we're getting a whole lot of questions about this. So getting a request to show the map one more time for you. So let's do this one more time. Let's show you the map and show you what we can expect from this snowstorm. This is one computer model, but this is the one I think that's probably closest to what's going to end up happening. Again, notice the big difference between east of I-25 and west of I-25. So I'm going to stop answering, I'll be honest about this, I'm going to stop answering questions about exactly how much snow you might end up with, and I'll show the statewide one as well, but notice generally speaking, east of I-25, you're probably looking at 2 to 4 inches. West of I-25, it's about 3 to 6, maybe even 4 to 8 inches in terms of your totals. And statewide, again, not a whole lot of snow. And by the way, I got the question about San Luis Valley and Alamosa. Notice out there, you may end up completely shut out. This is going to be a system that favors the Front Range and the east-facing mountains here of Colorado. So the mountains mostly get shut out from this. There's some snow in the northern mountains, and that's ongoing. But again, the mountains mostly miss out on this snow event. Sorry to say it. We need the snow up there. We need a good storm. I'm going skiing tomorrow. I'll tell you what. I know a lot of you are too. We need the snow again here. So hopefully it gives you a pretty good idea about what to expect. And then one more question I thought was pertinent about the forecast. I'm going to bring back up my graphics here and show you one more. I've got a question about Super Bowl Sunday here in Denver, and it looks great. I mean, that is awesome, isn't it? I mean, if you want to play a little pigskin in the yard, I think before the sun goes down, you'll be able to have some, I don't know, have a favorite beverage outdoors, right? And soak in some of that famous Colorado sunshine. Look at that Sunday. Beautiful. Same for us Monday and Tuesday. And then in classic Colorado fashion, those temperatures crash right back down again, and then we'll get snow by Wednesday and Thursday. So hopefully it's giving you a pretty good overview about what to expect here as we head over the next few days. So appreciate everybody for writing in. I do very much appreciate all of your time and for joining us here on what's going to be a fairly busy afternoon. So again, the evening commute is going to be a little bit messy. Just be ready for it, and then hopefully things will clear on out. So I'll have, by the way, continued updates on my Facebook page as well, Meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and also on 9 News Watch, on Roku, on OTT platforms. We'll have those through the rest of your day. So be sure to stay with us here on 9 News and on 9 News Watch. I'm Meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and again, have a great and safe rest of your Friday.